This is Gail Kovac for Gresham Barlow School District, summer school, high school, credit recovery, Algebra 1A, and Learning Target 1. I can solve multi-step equations. So this is Form A, and in Learning Target number 1, what we're trying to do is figure out what the missing number must be. So x, your variable, it's actually an unknown, and we are going to solve for x by cleaning up each of the side of the equal sign, doing inverse operations till we figure out what x has to be. So let's start with this first question over here. And in this first question, I've got a 16 equal to negative 5x plus 3x minus 2. And I notice here on one side of the equal sign that I have two terms of x. Those are like terms that we can combine. I've got negative 5x's and I'm adding 3 more x's. So altogether, that combines to negative 2x's. So we can rewrite this equation now in a simpler form. I'm going to bring down my 16 equals. Now instead of negative 5x plus 3x, it's negative 2x. And then we've got that minus 2 that can come down as well. Now the right side is as simple as it gets. Now the equal sign is special. It's like a balance, and what you do to one side, you better do to the other side to keep it balanced. So I like to draw a line under my equal sign to make sure that I'm being fair to both sides, honoring that equal sign. So here's my unknown x. Two things have happened to it that I need to undo. Right next to the x is a negative 2, so multiplication is implied there. That's negative 2 times x. I'm going to have to undo that multiply by negative 2. I also need to undo this minus 2, and I'm going to work from the outside in. So this term here is last, and I'm going to undo that negative 2 first. So an inverse operation is how you get this to be 0, additive opposites to 0. So to get rid of negative 2, I'm going to add 2. And I'm going to add 2 to the other side as well to keep this balanced. And now let's see what we end up with. That negative 2 and plus 2 are opposites and they cancel out. So now on the left-hand side, I am going to have 16 plus 2, which is 18. There's my equal sign, and on the right now only remains the negative 2x. That's negative 2 times x. So we're getting closer to figuring out what x has to be. Now we just have to deal with this coefficient in front, this multiplication by negative 2. And how do you undo multiply? You divide. So x has been multiplied by negative 2. To undo it, I'm going to divide by negative 2. And if I do it to the left side, I better do it to the right side so that I honor that equal sign and I'm fair to both sides. Times by negative 2 and divide by negative 2 are opposite operations, multiplicative operations that gets you just 1x, so those cancel. And now all that remains on this right-hand side is my x, which is what I wanted. And on the left-hand side, I get 18 divided by negative 2. That gets you negative 9. So there is your solution. X must be equal to negative 9. Let's try it here on the right. Now, the first thing I'm going to have to do is clean up each side. I noticed here on the right that I have just a constant of 35. That's as simple as that gets. But I got a whole bunch of stuff here on the left, and I'm going to have to clean that up. Firstly, I see with these parentheses that I have a coefficient of 4 out in front. That means I have 4 groups of x minus 2. So I can distribute that multiplier of 4 to each member inside of the group. I'll multiply x by 4 and negative 2 by 4. So 4 times x is 4x, and 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. That's how that simplifies. So now let's rewrite this and we see what we've got here. So now I've got 4x minus 8, and I've got that plus 7 that I'll bring down, and I've also got that 35 that I'll bring down. There's my equal sign. But now that left-hand side is not perfectly cleaned up yet. I've also got like terms here. They're the coefficients of -8 and +7. -8 and add 7. I can combine those together. They're both constants. So -8 and +7 get you combined value of -1. So now we can rewrite our equation one more time. I've got my 4x out in front that I'll bring down. And -8 and +7 now becomes -1. And now I've got my equals 35. All right, that was a lot of cleaning up, but now that left side is as simple as it gets. I'm going to draw my line now that I'm going to start doing inverse operations and same things to both sides to try and figure out what my x value has to be here. I'm going to work from the outside in. I'm going to get rid of this -1 first. And how we undo a -1 is by adding 1. Make sure you're fair and you do it to both sides. So let's see what we get here now. I've still got my 4x. And +1 and -1 are additive opposites. They cancel. So I won't have that anymore. I'll just have my equal sign, and 35 plus 1 is 36. I've got my last step here. X here has a coefficient of 4. Multiplication is implied there. So to undo that multiply, I'm going to divide each side by 4. Multiply by 4 and divide by 4 are opposites, and they cancel. So now all I'm left with on the left is my x. And that will be equal to whatever 36 divided by 4 is, which is 9. So there's your answer there. So for problems like these, the first thing you'll want to do is just clean up the left and the right side as far as they can go by combining like terms like we did up here and we did here. And if you see a parentheses with a value on the outside, then you can multiply that value to the group. Then you'll want to draw the line for your equal sign and do inverse operations to each side until you isolate the variable. You get x or y or q or whatever the letter is all by itself.